Welcome back to another episode of the Foreign Insight Podcast, episode 20. I'm your host, Mike Obi. Joining me today is the guy who helped me start off the show, good friend of mine, and we just here to dissect the one that a fan requested, actually. Without further ado, my guy, Nicholas Washington. Nick, how are you?
Good. What's going on, man? It's been a while.
All right. How you been?
Been all right. Been busy, but, I'm good.
Yeah. For everybody who doesn't know, Nick's been doing this thing just with school and, getting into the real estate world. And so he's been doing this thing. But today, our topic, again, fan requested this, actually, dissecting the male friendship. So to start off, I always like to go from people's beginnings because a lot of times people's stories kind of tells their narrative of their life. So the first topic I want to tackle is just your upbringing playing a factor. For guys, what do you think it is about the way they grow up that factors into the friends that they choose?
It's tough. I think it's more maybe like your environment, I guess you can kind of say, like just like where you live and then, different people you go to school with. And then that kind of shapes you when you're like really young. And so then once you kind of move through life, you kind of look to try to find people. Most people look to try to find people that are like or similar to people that they grew up with, but that might not always be, the best case scenario. But I mean, I think that's how most people, at least for guys, I think, base their friendships off of just like somebody that they were close to or that they knew growing up from like a young age.
Yeah, I agree. When you're young, you generally try to gravitate to things that are familiar and things that are comfortable to you. And I think that goes into friend groups. I know for guys, it's like, do you like sports? Do you like video games? Do you like football? You do? All right, cool. We can be cool. That type of thing, especially when you're a child or when you're an adolescent. And then I think, like you said, not everybody is able to pick the best friend groups just due to their surroundings, their environments. Do they have a male figure? Do they not have a male figure in the home? And also, what are the influences? Do they live in an impoverished area? Do they live in a well-off area? Those types of things, I think, play a factor into the way people at least initially choose their friends and the people they decide to associate themselves with.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So then from there, you have your surroundings, you have your foundation. Now, what do you think separates a guy from choosing, and classifying guys as an associate versus a close friend or someone who they consider a bro to them?
Gosh, that's kind of hard. But I think that, at least for me, somebody who I consider like a bro or like, a close friend, we had to like not gone through something together, necessarily, but like some kind of experience or situation we was both in, you know what I mean? It was like, hey, and that kind of like helped bring us together. I think that's like, for me, that kind of separates the associate and / friend, whatever you want to call it, homie, whatever. But if you're just an associate, it's pretty much I just know you. I mean, we might hang out in the same circles, but like if me and you haven't like personally, done something or like been in a situation where, where we can chop it up or whatever, nobody else know what we're talking about or something like that. I mean, you're just an associate to me. But
yeah, I agree. And I think, that's part of the reason why stuff like sports, especially guys who play football, where a lot of times their friend groups are only football players, those guys that they hang with. First off, you have no choice. You're around them all the time. And so naturally, you're going to, quote unquote, go through things as you alluded to. You're going to have to understand who this is you're going to be playing alongside with. And, at least the best teams and the most successful teams, if you look at them and if you dissect them, generally those players on those teams are a little bit more close-knit than not. They understand each other's life experiences beyond just on the field. And that's why I think stuff like sports, extracurricular activities are good at creating friendships, and those things are more organic because it's a common activity, especially for guys. Because I think, and we'll get into this a little later, but guys aren't really known for opening up really that easily, if at all. And so with football, you naturally have to be a little bit more vulnerable just because these are people whom you're surrounding yourself with on a regular basis. So naturally, you're going to end up having to tell a little bit of your story, even if you don't want to. It kind of helps ease it. And these are guys who you can sort of trust a little bit easier, as a little bit easier, a little bit more than just the common person.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, at least for like football and stuff, even if you don't want to show your emotions or something, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? So people are going to get to know you and see you, in different situations. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Now, going on to the next thing and kind of what I already talked about, the idea of, do men open up emotionally to one another? Do you think so? And if so, why or why not?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, there's probably like one person, maybe that's like a guy friend, maybe two people that I would open up about something serious. But mostly, guys just kind of like keep it to themselves and like, man, I got this. And they see, I don't know. Maybe it just might be a tough guy type of thing that guys try to put on. But I mean, I do think that everybody needs to have somebody to talk to. But if it's your guy friend, your best friend, whatever you want to call it, or not, it just is up to the person.
No, I think what you said is actually true. It's like guys aren't known for opening up, and it's kind of frowned upon to do so. Right or wrong, it is what it is. Like, especially if you grow up with a male figure in your life, and you're kind of taught that if you show emotions, if you show any type of vulnerability, well, then that's not attractive, to women. Like, you get told that, a lot of guys I know, or it's just like, why are you showing your emotions? You need to just be a man, whatever, that's the thing that's commonly said, be a man and be tough, like you said. And there is some validity to it because, again, you can't let everything bother you. Right. And I think naturally, guys try to stave off of that by picking people who don't bring drama to their lifestyle. I know that's something with me. It's like, if you're a person who has a bunch of negative things to say, a bunch of drama, a bunch of gossip that you want to bring up all the time, I'm not going to really gravitate to you too much. Now, I understand that everybody has, things that bother them and they need to vent. Everybody deserves the right to vent. But, if you're somebody who brings that to the table all the time, then naturally, people, you kind of push people away more so than have them gravitate to you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I tell people all the time, like, don't come to me with problems if you don't have like a solution. I know you might not have the right solution, but have something that you think that might be a solution. Don't just come to me with your problems and all this other stuff. But it's like, I don't want to hear like a pity party type of thing. You know what I mean? I think that guys, like, that's what they see it as. It's like, if you talk about your emotions, it's like, oh, it's a pity party or whatever. And most guys aren't with all that drama. So, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think though that's a problem? Like, do you think that's an issue, or do you think that that's not healthy for guys to kind of keep their emotions bottled up, so to speak?
Man, like I said, I think that everybody needs to have somebody that they can like communicate to, and tell like different things, but you can't, like you said, you can't like let everything bother you. So I think that you do need to have like some tough skin, and obviously if it's something serious that you want to talk about, or have something to talk about, then yeah, go ahead. Like, you need to get that out, because some stuff you can't just keep inside, because it'll just eat away at you, whether you try to admit it or not, but it will. But you have to really kind of assess it and be like, is what I'm feeling or whatever, is it really that big of a deal? Or is it really that serious? You know what I mean? Rather than just jumping at every chance you feel like somebody did you wrong or whatever the case may be and wanting to complain about it.
Let me ask you this though, because this comes up quite often, and I really kind of struggle with this answer when I get asked this question. Is it better for a guy to have a group of homeboys that he brings his problems to, or is it more beneficial for him to take his problems, let's say, close girlfriends? Reason why I ask that, and reason why that gets brought up all the time, is because what's commonly said is that, okay, if you're a guy and you bring your issues, it depends on what it is, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you bring your issues to, let's say, your homeboys, they'll be more likely to kind of tell you the blunt, honest truth. They really don't have to have sympathy for you. They just tell you like it is. As opposed to with women, stereotypically, it's that they'll have more empathy for your situation and they'll be more willing to work with you, right? Not necessarily they'll take pity on you, but they're more likely to be understanding. So, first off, do you agree with those two sentiments? And if so, which do you think is more beneficial for a guy to hear?
I agree. Now, which one is more beneficial? It just depends on the scenario to me. Like, there's some things I might go to my significant other about. And then there's some things I'm gonna go to my homeboys about. Like, there's different topics, you know what I mean? Because I feel like even though if you were my girlfriend or whatever, you cannot understand from my point of view what my feelings are about it. You know what I mean? It's not that you don't care. It's not that you are dumb or anything like that. It's just that you couldn't understand.
Yeah, and I agree.
I think that also, like, women get too emotionally involved, which is not a bad thing. It's just what they are, but it's just like when you bring certain topics up to them, they'll want to check up on you and keep asking about it. And sometimes people don't. If I bring it up to you one time, I just want to talk about it that one time, and I'm not trying to talk about it more.
Yeah.
And I feel like with guys, they get that. Like, hey, if Michael told me something one day, I'm not gonna call him 3 days later and be like, hey, so how did that go? Blah 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 blah. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you want to talk, I know that if you want to talk about it again, you'll bring it up. But a girl will call you and text you about it and keep asking you about it. But it's like, I'm not trying to do that in some situations. So it just depends on, it has a lot of different factors, but yeah, there's benefits and cons to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the main thing. There's no perfect answer. There's no one answer. And like you said, it's a case by case basis. I think that you have to understand what answer you really want to hear. And also you have to know what truth you want to hear too. Do you want the full truth? Then you know who to go to, right? And I think that both sides have merit and have value, and really you should try to have a balance. So you should try to get it from both, and then make a decision that is informed based off of both sides.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, I think it couldn't hurt you to get an opinion from both sides, and then you kind of just, like you said, decide which truth you want to go with. But you definitely should consult two people if you can.
Yeah. Now, how long would you say that it takes for guys to open up to one another, like on a general basis? Let's say you've been friends with somebody for a minute, like let's say about a year. How long do you really think it'll take guys generally to open up to one another, whether it be tell them their problems or go to another homeboy for help or whatever the case may be?
Oh, that's tough. I guess if it was about like a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. Maybe, I guess for me, I would open up to you about a problem if I felt like you had an understanding of the problem, or like, what I mean, from whatever, like if you had a past experience or whatever the case may be, then I might open up to you about it. But then if it's just in general trust, like when do you decide that you want to trust somebody like that? For me, I guess I'll feed you something small and see how you go about that. And then it's like, well, okay, I can trust this person, and then I'll go from there. But just to open up and tell you something, yeah, like I said, it just depends on if I feel like you have an understanding of the problem. Because like I said before, like if I feel like a boy, girl, whatever the case may be, if I feel like you don't understand the problem, there's really no point in bringing it up. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing going to come from that besides you just saying, "Oh, okay, well, I hope you feel better," whatever the case may be. So
Yeah, I think naturally guys' tendencies are to get away from their problems, right? Drown them out, whether it be through their gym or through watching a football game, like, or just doing other things, doing other hobbies, right? You generally don't want to delve into them for dudes. I know I don't. I'm a person where it's like, okay, if that bothered me, okay, big deal. Let me do something else and let me get my mind off of it. I try to get away from it as quickly as possible, unless it's something like catastrophic where I need help for it. Then okay, you have to deal with it. That's just a problem that needs to be solved. But if it's something petty, then of course I'm not really going to deal with it. If it's something where I'm just curious about it, I'll go try to find the answer through like knowledge or text or whatever. And then from there, if I really just don't know, I need like a second opinion, then it all depends on, like you said, how long I've known the person, how much I've kind of been able to tell them in the past, how much they've told me in the past, because I would feel like generally if they've been able to entrust me with certain things, especially stuff that is sensitive, then I could give it back vice versa, especially if I've known them for a little while. You know, basically the longer that you've been around, the more that you get, right? That's how I think. You know, if there are certain friends I've had for years on years and years, I tell them more stuff naturally because I know how they'll take it. I know their character. I know how they'll be able to react. And, you know, if it happens to be that, you know, I tell them something or I trust them with something and they betray it, then that gets taken away very easily. And
yeah,
that's just the way that I go about it.
yeah. No, I mean, trust is a two-way street. So there's give and take. And I feel like you said, if you just giving and you telling all this and you giving out all your business,
Mm.
and you feel like that person doesn't trust you the same way to come, to you about certain things, it's like, okay, well, you got to kind of sit back and consider how much you're going to tell this person. You know what I mean? How much you're going to trust this person about different things. So yeah. I mean,
Now, on a deeper level, though, how men handle loyalty and betrayal, you know. So let's say you have friendships, or let's say you're friends with somebody, and then they betray either your trust or just you in general. How do you think guys generally handle that?
um, gosh, I'm coming with the hard balls today, man. I feel like if it's somebody that I've known for a while, like I'm talking like 8, 9, 10 years, you know what I mean? Like a good minute, and you betray something that I've told you in confidence or done in confidence or whatever the case may be. I feel like you kind of have to look back and reassess that person and reassess that friendship and decide like, one, can I really I don't know how to it. Are you good without this person? You know what I mean? Because this is like, you have to be real. This is your friend that you've been friends with for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's not as easy to cut somebody off that you've been friends with for 10 years rather than somebody you've been friends with for a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can cut somebody off that I've been friends with for a year easily and not even think about it, lose sleep about it.
Right.
But like somebody that's been 10 years, it's like, damn, at that point, I would hope if you've been friends with them for 10 years, that's supposed to be your bro. And if your bro, betrays you or something, it's like, okay, it's going to hurt. And then you kind of, like I said, you just have to reassess the situation and decide like, one, is this betrayal something that I can live with, or is it something that I can't? And if it's something that you can't, then, you got your answer right there. Like, go ahead and just cut them off at that point. But if it's something that you feel like you can, and you just need some time away from that person, you got to do that. But I feel like when you get older, that friendship, at least for me, that real close friendship group gets smaller.
Absolutely.
And more tight knit. So, if something was to happen, like tomorrow, one of my homeboys or something betrayed me, you would have to really just kind of consider like, what's the value of this person in your life? Because it's not like back in elementary school when you got 30 best friends. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
So then, how do you go about, attaining best friends or having friends? Because one way is to be completely detached from everybody and really never be vulnerable, never really let anybody. You really don't ever trust anyone, right? There's some people who go about that mindset, or there's some people who say, you can't live life, just being a hermit and not, having no friends, not having no connections. So then they understand the cost, they understand the risk that they're taking, and they decide to just live with it. So where do you think that balance comes, or how do you navigate it, or how do you think guys navigate it?
Um, I do think that you have to kind of find yourself like the balance in that spectrum. You can't be one side, heavy on one side and heavy on the other. Um, I guess from being somebody that has kind of been on both sides of the spectrum, been like, oh, I'm not gonna say, I'm not, oh, I can cuss. I'm not gonna say nothing. Um, I'm a real, quiet about everything, and I'm not gonna tell nobody my problems.
Mm-hmm.
Or gonna be the person who's just, real outgoing and social, which is great. Like I said, you got to find that balance. But I honestly think that just people are more attracted, and you'll have more friends just being genuine.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Now, if that's where you're more of a quiet person, then okay. Um, because what I have seen with the people that are quiet, usually like out in social situations, they're really not quiet. They're just quiet in big groups of people or whatever, like people that they don't know. But when they're with their close friends, they're like the life of the party or whatever you want to call it. So I feel like whether you're a quiet person or you're just a really social person, just being genuine is gonna kind of help you find and weed out who's really gonna be your friend and who's really not. Because I do feel like when you are on the more social side, you'll get a lot of fake friends, and that's just from my opinion. You'll get a lot of fake friends, but you will find some genuine people in there. It's easier to weed out people being on the quiet side of the spectrum, but it's a lot harder to make friends that way. So, like I said, you kind of just have to find the balance and be genuine.
Yeah, I agree full heartedly, because I think me being a guy who's more so on the quiet side, one thing I noticed is that when you're quieter, the silent one in a group, the people who want to be friends with you generally will like ask you, like they'll seek you out and they kind of come to you. Now that's the risk you take though with being an introvert, is that you don't make as many friends, and not that you don't make them as easily, but it's kind of like if you're a person who you're introverted but you want a whole lot of friends, you have to then take on that and break your shell, so to speak. But if you're a person where you don't need a big friend group, you don't want a big friend group, but you're this bubbly personality, okay, then you have to understand, okay, how do I weed the fake friends out versus the genuine friends? So it's understanding who you are, like you said, and be your genuine self, and then from there, you then have to understand, okay, am I relatable with these people that I'm interacting with? Are we compatible? If we are, okay, do I see myself trusting them, or do I think, I got to keep that person at bay? Because there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that I'm not really too fond of being friends with that person, or that person does things that are alarming to me.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want, and I think what happens too frequently for both men and women, but since we're speaking on men only, is they get caught up with the wrong crowd. You hear this all the time. They get caught up in the wrong crowd, and that costs them everything. And especially when it comes to betrayal, since that's what we were talking about. You trusted a friend and he ended up not being the right person for you, and maybe the signs were there, maybe the red flags were there, but you decided to ignore him, and then he betrays you in the ultimate fashion. And not only does that destroy your friendship, but that destroys your social group. And for some people, that costs them extreme stuff like their lives, especially for men. I one thing I think about is that men love, and when they say that they're down for you, they're down for you to the death, right? They're down to you fully. And if you betray them, they don't understand how to deal with those emotions because they don't really have to most of the time, right? So then you're left with this kind of whirlwind of feelings that you really have never had to deal with. So then you deal with them in the most volatile and extreme manners, and then that's how
Yeah.
bad things happen, to
Yeah.
say the least.
And I feel like no matter, and this is just for me,
Yeah,
no matter how close of a friend you are, I know that, I mean, not know that, but I have to keep in my head that whatever the case may be, that this person could turn. Like I said, even though people don't want to like think about it, but it's like you have to think worst case scenario. So
yeah,
even if I've been friends with this person 10 years, you never know what's going on with that person and what's going on with that person's head, what's going on with that person's life that could cause them to switch on you. And the way you value your friendship with that person might not be the same as the way that person, values the friendship. So you have to keep that in mind and, kind of move cautiously, but it doesn't mean that you just kind of like ignore them and all the other type of stuff. But you have to keep that negative in mind for sure.
yeah. You have to be aware with it, but you can't let it control the friendship, and you can't let it control the interaction. Just understand it, and if it does happen, don't take it personally. Just say, hey, it didn't work out with this person, even though it might hurt, it might sting. The truth hurts. But the more you choose to ignore it, the worse it'll get. So just take it on and understand that there's billions of people in the world. You'll find more friends if that's what you want. And I think that's a lesson that, for young men who are trying to find their friend groups, trying to find where they belong. Don't force yourself into a group that you don't want to be a part of, or if you know that they don't, embody the same values, they're not on the same trajectory as you are, then don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like give, like I said, because friendships are a two-way street. So you do have to give, but you also have to be cautious. And if you see that you giving and ain't nothing being reciprocated, evaluate that. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you what decision to make, but in most cases, like when I see people just giving, it's just you become like taken advantage of. And
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let Nick hang in the group because he always doing this. He giving me food, he driving me around, he paying for this, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, when has this person brought me food? When has this person drove me somewhere? You know what I mean? When has anybody done a favor for me when I need it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just say, is it really that important to me to be a part of this friend group? I'm just giving, you know what I mean? So for young people, like you said, you really kind of got to be aware of that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, okay, we can even go with me and your friendship. Me and Nick met in the gym, and we had that was our common activity, right? And then we had a common thing that we had, which is that we both played ball. That's how we got to conversating. And then through conversating, we were able to see, okay, we're not that much different, him and I. We think largely the same. We disagree on certain things, but it's a disagreement that is like, okay, let me understand where you're coming from. So our thought process and our values are largely the same. And then from there, it became, okay, Nick asked me for a favor. Okay, I said no problem, and then vice versa. So there goes the mutualistic relationship that you must have with friends. Is to each, if you give, you shall receive, and if you receive, you shall give. It has to be mutual. If you find yourself in a situation where you're constantly giving and not receiving nothing back, or if you feel like if you know that you're receiving everything and you're really taking advantage of somebody, understand that karma is going to come back and get you. You need to be in healthy relationships. Or if you feel like you're receiving something, understand nothing in life is free, right? So that person, while you might think, oh, I'm just taking advantage of them, they're not going to be as loyal to you down the line because they're going to remember, oh, wait, that person, I'm always having to give them stuff. Maybe they aren't as good of a friend as I think. And then that festers in that person's brain, right?
Yeah.
So, I would just say, just understand who it is that you're choosing to be friends with, and what y'all's relationship dynamics are like. Every person whom I deem as a friend or as a bro, there's a specific, I know what I'm getting with them, and I know why I'm friends with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like you said, I feel like that's one of the reasons why we were able to like click is because we did have things that we agreed on and had in common, but then there was like a mutual respect of things that we didn't agree on. And it wasn't like, oh no, you're wrong and I'm right type of thing. It was like, let me see if I can understand from Michael's point of view, or, you know, let me see if I can understand from Nick's point of view. So I can kind of understand where they're coming from. I might not agree, but I respect it. You know what I mean? I feel like, when I look back at just different, at least in my close friend group, it's like, there's similarities, but then there's differences, but it's never like a, you know, I'm right and you're wrong type of thing. Or like, you know, you can learn something, you know what I mean? Because there's things that you know that I don't know, and there's things that I know that you don't know, and there's things that, you know, there's opinions, because you've taught me different things. It's like, I said, oh, well, here's my opinion on it. And you're like, no, I don't really agree because of this. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I'm thinking about it, like, you could be right. You know what I mean? So you have to have friends that are similar to you, but that aren't like, yes, man. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I agree. Because then it's like, you're not really growing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Great episode. And let's just close it out with, you know, your final words and your final advice, your final piece of, you know, your final gem to the next generation of young men who are out there trying to navigate this world and picking their friend groups. You know, they may be in good situations, they may be in bad situations. What is the last thing you would tell them?
That's tough. I would say find you a close group of friends. I feel like I said, as you get older, you'll realize that you don't need not a bunch of friends, but a bunch of close friends. I mean, it's never bad to have a lot of friends, but a lot of close friends. You know, I keep to like, you know, the numbers that you can count on your hand, and keep it at that. And then find somebody who's similar to you, but isn't just like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Y'all have things in common, but then there's a difference, because that's the only way that you can be exposed to new things and understand new things and learn new things.
For sure. Yeah, well said, bro. That's a wrap. Episode 20 of the 4 Insight podcast. Reached another milestone. I appreciate my guy Nick coming on. He helped me build this platform up, and now he helped me reach another milestone.
Yeah, man, I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it, man. You can catch this episode on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and all platforms streaming podcasts. Thank y'all.